call the meeting to order.
Pickens?
Here.
Hahn?
Here.
Harden?
Here.
Westerly?
Here.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have, before we get to DeWitt County Development Council, we have a few members of the community that would like to address the council, and they will be speaking to things that aren't on this evening's agenda. So I'm going to let them go first and speak to each of their issue. I'm going to call them in order in which we receive the paper. Before we do so, most of them are they are speaking about the same thing. So I'm going to make at least one comment, and then I'll allow them to have the floor. I had stated that I would like to have people fill out an application for the city council position, and I also stated probably a number of times that I had planned to interview each and every one of them. There was no legality in that. I mean, I did not have to do that. It was for my benefit and my benefit alone, so that I could make a wise decision on who I was going to choose. When I went to look at the names and everything, I was looking for a few criterias. One, they couldn't be a close friend. One person was automatically scratched off of the list at that time. Two, they needed to be fresh eyes, someone that I think that was new to the council, if you will, just so we could get a fresh opinion. I think that it would be a blessing to have that. And three, to be a proven leader in the community. As I looked at the list, and although many of the names were very committed members of the committee or community, I felt that one name stood above and beyond, and I chose Mr. Scott Kelly. So on that, we have four individuals who'd like to address the council. The first one is Randy Matthews. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. I believe you answered my question. I was curious when I saw the agenda for the evening if the applicants could have assumed at that point that the interviews would be coming later, but apparently that's not true.
Yeah, they will not be coming later, no sir. Thank you. Thank you for applying as well. Mary Lee, you have the floor.
Yes, good evening. I'm very disappointed in your process. I think that there seems to be a personal agenda here. I was told by you directly that there would be an interview process, and I personally met with Larry to find out what the obligations were and what the job consisted of, to see if it was going to be even a good fit for me to turn in an application for the job. And I'm very disappointed in your lack of interviewing people that would be qualified for the job, that do have a personal connection with this town, that would be by the people, for the people, leaving personal agendas aside and not be a yes person. And I think that's exactly what you're looking for. It doesn't seem to be that you want somebody that's going to be for what the town wants. You know, you got your little agenda here with all of your picked people, and that's nothing against Scott, period, at all. It's just, I really don't appreciate the way this was done. I think it's shadier than shady can be.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Tharp, you have the floor.
Well, I agree with Mary Lee. 5 times in the newspaper you said you're going to interview everybody. Now you're saying you changed your mind? Did you lie to the people?
I stated I changed my mind. I did change my mind.
You said right in the paper you're going to interview.
Yes, I planned to interview. I changed my mind.
You changed your mind because, like Mary Lee said, you want one person on that council for one reason.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
And then Tim, you have the floor.
Thank you.
concerned about the handling of this conflict and this body. I would like to point out that this is taking on a life of its own. There seems to be a hydra living in our small town, a many-headed hydra, and no matter what the citizens wish or express, it is ignored by this august group of gentlemen assembled before us. Accusations are made against citizens of wrongdoing, published in papers, not by their own volition, but by the volition of members of the council or our illustrious mayor. We have been promised again and again and again, in print and verbally, that this conflict would be resolved in a timely fashion and appropriate manner. This has not occurred unless I've got Rick Van Winkle's beard on and don't know it. The mechanics of what we have here in our small town is shot through with skullduggery. Our mayor insists that he is beyond law in his promises. Thereby, we must assume, and only by Mr. Mayor's verbiage do I say that perhaps he has the law on his side. But as far as integrity goes, there are questionable issues aplenty to go around. I filled out an application, submitted it on time, in great detail. I am a licensed general contractor. I have 35 years of experience in writing estimates, bids, negotiating contracts with labor institutions, dealing with the public. Everything that these gentlemen could possibly be confronted with, and I'm sure that Mr. Kelly is going to be more than prepared to take his seat, and I thank him. But we all want an open window. We would like to see information such as the city charter that does not request the mayor to maintain his integrity, personal integrity, and how these meetings and these appointments and these interviews are to be handled. All I want to know is, what are the parameters?
Don't know. It's whatever.
There is no transparency beyond my shoulders at this very moment.
You gotta remember, this is Farmer City. Just the way you do things.
Pardon me, I grew up in Piatt County. I love this town.
One more minute, sir.
This sort of thing, First Amendment squelch, is just another one of the seasonings in the skullduggery that we are asked to eat, consume, and keep quiet with. And I think it is time for all of us to say boo-wah to bad management. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. On that, we move on to presentation by DeWitt County Development Council. Ruth, you have the floor.
Thanks. And I will share it with Kurt Homan, our Vice President. Mark Killo, you all know, is our representative to our business development. You know that economic development is critical for the future of DeWitt County, and it requires a long-term, sustained effort in cooperation with local businesses, with communities, and with you and with other agencies. Your involvement and your financial support is crucial for providing the resources to carry out a variety of our programs and initiatives that we work on. We were formed in 2007 through an intergovernmental agreement between DeWitt County and the City of Clinton and the City of Farmer City. And since then, the intergovernmental agreement has expired. And yet we continue to be focused on assisting existing and new businesses, prospective businesses, by providing services and resources. So not every business needs our help, but we are there for anyone who does, and we're free of charge. And we're there to encourage, foster, promote, aid, and stimulate economic growth in DeWitt County through the retention and expansion and attraction of business. And the mission benefits all residents. In our DCDC 2016 strategic plan, we included the following goals. Business development, of course, is one of the biggest goals that we have. Every retained job in the region provides opportunities for me and for you and for your business and for your family. We've been working with Exelon Corporation, who for years, at least for the past 3 years, we've been working with them as they search for solutions to keep the plant from early closure, hoping to retain the nearly 700 jobs, and out of those jobs, 203 are DeWitt County jobs. So that's 100 to 150 houses that could be emptied, 203 jobs, and it's not the kind of job that you can walk across the street and get a different one. So we could be losing some incredibly important residents that we have. Early closure will create a loss of property tax and sales taxes, as you know, for the whole county. And recently, March 15th, there was an article in Crane's Business News that was pretty scary about the Clinton power plant possibly being used as a scapegoat, for a scare tactic, so that the legislature will do something to help them with the funding or with the financing because of the Exelon power plants in Illinois. They say that the Clinton one, though it's one of the safest ones, is also the one that makes the least amount of money. So retention is very important to us, and we work diligently trying to help those businesses. We work with Farmer City on many things. There was a community need. We were asked in 2009 to look for a pharmacy. It obviously takes a long time to go through the prospect of to find a prospect. And it took us a while for that, so we were happy to be able to help with that. And we help with that. We bring the leads to you, and it's great that the community was able to find a solution for that. We've got a series of leaders' breakfast meetings. The next one is April 29th. It's a breakfast meeting from 7:30 to 8:30. This one will be at the Clinton Country Club. And we've invited Robin McCoy with Workforce Investment Solutions for Macon County and DeWitt County to be there. Her specialty, of course, is the workforce, and we've been talking with Kurt Nettles and with Susan Wilson and with Richland and Heartland and other businesses and companies about what their issues are with business. Workforce, of course, is something that will always be there. We need to make sure that we're training our students and our future employees for the jobs that are coming to us, and make sure that the ones that we have available now are still, we have people that come from our communities available for that. We provide a revolving loan fund and have since 2010. The funds were from a USDA grant, and we recently had an applicant that was successful for a loan, 5-year loan, 3% interest, and it was Cornelio Ag. So it's our first in Farmer City. We still have funds available, so if you know of any other businesses that are looking at expanding or startup businesses, then that funding is still available for you. We attend most of the meetings for the TIF and for your council meetings, for the chamber. We try to be at the events too. And we learn a lot and hope that we can bring resources to you when you need them. We also attend all of the regular and committee meetings for the DeWitt County Board. We continue to work with local businesses on marketing strategies, such as some others have asked us to help them with ideas too. And we worked with Farmer City Market, as you did, trying to find solutions for them. We've been prospecting. Some of the things that we've been asked to look for were restaurants or fast food restaurants. And we know that we have building sites in town that would be perfect for businesses. The 20 acres at 74, the property right next to Emo's, and the former Casey's building. As soon as it's ready, we've got a prospective, well, a client that wants to look at it. So we hope that we have somebody that we could bring into that. We work a lot with county-wide planning. DCDC has made a commitment to help the Regional Planning Commission and DeWitt County and the zoning officer with their comprehensive plan. And it's imperative that we research and know exactly what the communities want, what Farmer City wants, what Clinton wants, and it's been great having Larry over helping us find those solutions for Farmer City and listening to the things that you're saying that you need here so that we can make sure it's part of that comprehensive plan. That's a 20-year plan, and it's an important resource for prospective businesses. They look to that to see what it is that you want, what it is that you think that you will agree to if they bring business here. All right, increasing residents is an important issue. It's not typical for economic development, but we see the need here. So we've been working with developers and trying to find some solutions, either for the downtown area where there's commercial, or even when you're looking for outside the downtown area for subdivisions or something like that. We have resources. I say that our best talent is that we know people who know people who know people. So if you have some odd question, no matter what kind of business you are, we may be able to help you find somebody with the answers. We certainly don't have all the answers, and that's why we need to work with all of you. Recreation and tourism is a big facet of economic development. We've been excited to be able to work with the Illinois Collegiate Rowing Invitational coming up April 16th. We've been working with the Illini Rowing Club and with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources and with Exelon, hopefully to make this a permanent site for them so that they can have those races every April and May, and so that they can bring 700 or more tourists in to see how great our community is. Coming through Farmer City, of course they're coming from Champaign. Hopefully they'll be doing that weekly for those 2 months. And the Farmer City Raceway, of course, has always been something important for DeWitt County, not just for Farmer City. It's something that I'm proud to be able to say when I go out and tell someone that I'm from DeWitt County. Here's another tourism event that brings in a lot of people and has a lot of positive reaction to people outside. Your support allows us to do all of this, and Kurt Homan, someone from Farmer City, is now our vice president, and he's supporting DeWitt County Development Council, and you can ask questions of him or Mark or me at any time. And I believe you have something you'd like to comment.
I do. So I guess my comments are going to be slightly more personal. So I was on the original founding committee for DCDC, or the committee to find a solution. And the cities of Farmer City, Clinton, and the county came forward and said, hey, we need to put something together to market our county. And that was 7, 8, 9 years ago. At that point, along with some other local business people and Clinton business people and other county business people, mostly some government folks as well. But at that point, once DCDC was formed, then I stepped off of that, and the group worked, I guess. And so up until a year ago, then, about a little over a year ago, I was appointed back to DCDC. So as of a year ago, I've been back involved with it on a more direct basis. Always kind of indirectly had been involved, but more so on a direct basis. Well, as of 2 meetings ago, then, as Ruth mentioned, I was elected our vice president for DCDC. And in there, I just want to say there was a lot of discussions that we had prior to those times. A big discussion was the strategic plan, and that's a strategic plan for DCDC, not necessarily a strategic plan for the county, not necessarily a strategic plan for Farmer City or Clinton or any of the other communities. But the strategic plan is what do we do? What do we do for ourselves to better serve the county? And so that was a big part of what we did. And in that, came a new president and a new vice president. Also, the strategic plan, we want to include private donors, private partners, as well as public partners. I wanted to throw that out there. A couple of our local Farmer City local recent successes, and there have been others, but in this year's time, and really in the last 6 months' time, the revolving loan fund to a local Farmer City business to expand its business lines, and I know Ruth mentioned that, and the Collegiate Rowing Invitational. I just want to expand on that a little bit more to say that it isn't all just Champaign direction, but some of the universities that are involved with that, Cleveland State University, DePaul, Marquette, Northwestern, St. Louis University, University of Chicago, University of Illinois, University of Iowa, University of Kansas, University of Missouri, Wheaton, and Xavier. And again, the hope is if we're able to get this accomplished, that we can make this a permanent course for the University of Illinois. That opens up a lot of doors, and some of the near-term doors are there would be some mostly Chicago area high schools that would be coming down to use the course. It is already one of the premier courses, not in the state, but in the Midwest region. So there's a course in Indianapolis. I don't like it very well. There's some other courses. There's not a ton of courses. Theoretically, and not theoretically, there is discussion of this course being a Olympic trial course. Potentially, if Chicago were to get the Olympics, that potentially could actually be a race site. So as we eye on what we could do for not just Farmer City, but DeWitt County, that could be a huge factor in that. And it all, this year instead of one race, they're going to have 3. So the writing is on the wall. All of us are excited about Lovie Smith as the new football coach, but Farmer City really has the opportunity to be very, very excited about the University of Illinois rowing team. And I think that's a great accomplishment. I just wanted to expand a little bit more on that. One of the other business contacts I had in actually Clinton, a Clinton business person, met with them a couple weeks ago, and they sat down and they said, Farmer City really seems to have a lot of business activity going on. And it kind of shocked me a little bit, because we get so involved in day to day, and we want 100 things right now. And I get it, so do I. But I said, really, why do you say that? And they said, well, it just seems like things are happening with the Casey's. And I said, the city did that. They did a great job with that. With the pharmacy, I said, yeah, DCDC helped out a little bit with that, and the city really was able to put that together. I said, fortunately, Farmer City had a TIF at that time, and that was very, very beneficial. But the comment that I made, and I actually wrote this down, I said, Farmer City works well when we work together, and it works poorly when we don't. So a personal goal for mine and for Kevin's with DCDC is we really, and this is right, I'm going to admit, I think we're lacking in this area, is we really want to create the communication between Ruth, between the DCDC board, and the public entities that it serves, such as Farmer City. We need to get to a point where Larry Walling can pick up a phone and say, hey Ruth, here's what we need some help with. And Ruth needs to be able to pick up a phone and say, Larry, we got this potential thing, and the more minds involved, the better. Obviously knowing that there's privacy issues and those types of things. But that really is where we want to get to. And also, DCDC wants to take on any role necessary for the end result. Whether that role is simply to research what a rule is, research how something is zoned, or whether it's going out and making 500 calls to get a business interested, fantastic. We want whatever role makes sense. Okay, if that makes sense. And again, the goal is the end result. Just another couple of comments. DCDC hopefully can be used as a tool, so just as you're looking at a business district, you know, I know TIF was on the table, maybe it's not anymore, but, you know, the TIF district when it was here was certainly a tool. You know, I asked to maybe use DCDC as one of those business development tools. Is it the answer to everything? Absolutely not. But it as a tool. And on all of those notes, you know, without a TIF, DCDC becomes excessively more important. I'm glad, I know Ruth is glad, Mark is glad too as well. Anyone that's to sit down one-on-one, I know you're going to be making some decisions on this. I would be honored to sit down one-on-one and you can give me the good, the bad, the ugly, all of those things. We'll have a very, very frank conversation about DCDC and realistically whatever you want to talk about. DCDC does not sell a product or a service, okay, with the exception of the community that we live in. Because we don't generate income, we have to rely on our public and private funders to do that. And so in that regard, you know, DeWitt County is a strong funder. Clinton funds, there's some private investors that fund, and we of course are asking, you know, for Farmer City to do the same. So I'm a volunteer. I wore my volunteer clothes tonight, but we're always looking for volunteers as well. But ultimately, our goal is the same. So I would ask you to consider, you know, fully funding DCDC this year. And again, I'm glad to sit down and discuss anything you'd like. So, okay.
This course you're talking about, where is it?
So it is at the Parnell exit or access. Thank you.
Okay.
The Parnell access area.
And goes which direction?
Would come
Towards Route
It goes to
48?
48.
Yes.
It's 1.25 miles.
Okay.
yes.
And they'll be using vendors for food. They'll have T-shirts available that day.
And they're definitely going to be out here.
They'll be out here April 16th is their big meet.
Then they'll have one on the 23rd and on the 30th. Those are smaller.
Correct.
And they're on Saturday, so the raceway's on Friday, and we're making sure that they have information about hotels and events and businesses. And hopefully we'll be calling some of the local businesses to ask for sponsorship. We saw their program from last year, and there wasn't anybody on that from any place but Chicago. So we want to change that.
Yeah, one of the interesting, I mean, just as a side note on that subject, and I'll be real, we're having a community meeting on April 7th, and this is something I wanted to bring up April 7th, but I think it's really important to discuss tonight. But you know, they've actually had this event for the last
3 years.
This is the fourth year, but it's this third year, second year at this location. So it actually has a Farmer City address. There's some, the University of Illinois has put out a couple of publications that have pictures and have Farmer City listed on there. That goes all over the world, for that matter. And it's ironic that I feel like I know everything that goes on, but I had no concept or I had no idea that this was going on. So when we recently sat down with them, a few months ago, the discussion was, how come I didn't know about this? And they said, well, we didn't know who to talk to. We didn't know what we needed to do. We just came in and we did the best we could. Well, all of a sudden we've thrown out ideas and set up the possibility to make this a permanent site, which is what they want, you know, and that's a good plus. So just having DCDC there, you know, gives us the ability to answer questions and maybe expand something and maybe make it something and make it an Olympic event or a fantastic event. I use the Olympic in a general sense, but also in a realistic sense. Any other questions before I sit down? But thank you so much for your time. So, thank you.
I got it. Talking about out the Parnell access area,
Yes, sir.
and where do you set up at out there?
Well, I don't set it up, but it's Parnell access 248. So there's a no wait. There's a no wait zone that goes through there. Yes.
Very good. We're moving on to section 1, the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Go ahead and call.
Jenkins?
Yes.
Con?
Yes.
Harden?
Yes.
Testori?
Yes.
Motion carried.
There being no unfinished business, we move to section 3, new business.
They make the motion to appoint Scott Kelly to fill the vacant seat.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Go ahead.
Con?
Yes.
Harden?
Here.
Testori?
Yes.
Jenkins?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Good. Mr. Kelly, if you could come up.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of
of the office of the City Council member
the office of the City Council member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Welcome aboard.
I'll make a motion to accept ordinance 961 declaring 701 West Olive Street as surplus property.
Second.
Any discussion?
Gentlemen, I told you at the last council meeting that we were working on the Water Street property, and Scott made the comment about us getting into the real estate business. This is a piece of property that, through a court order that we have received, what we're going to do now is, through this ordinance, we will advertise it and place it up for sale. You'll see that there are some provisions in there that list a down payment per se, that we're going to establish an escrow account. So if somebody was to purchase this property, and if they didn't get the property flipped in a proper time manner, then they could forfeit that $1,000. So in essence, that's what this is. Joe worked with us in getting this drafted up, so if you have any questions, by all means, you could relay those to him.
Is there any questions, discussion?
Well, I just want to make sure Scott understood where we're at on it. Apparently they tried to sell it, couldn't sell it. And so now we're dealing with it.
Now, this is a different parcel.
Is it a different parcel?
Yes. This is 701 West Olive. This is down by Arbor Apartments. This has been an ongoing court battle for quite a while. And so it has just finally come to fruition. So this is a different parcel.
Any questions? Do roll call.
Harden?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Testori?
Yes.
Jenkins?
Yes.
Han?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 962, ordinance establishing Farmer City Business District 1.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
This ordinance was drafted by Keith Moran after we had our public hearing. Keith had sent it to us, we forwarded it, Sandy had forwarded it over to Ken Beth. Ken has looked it over and sees no issues contained inside the ordinance, I'm sorry.
And this is the business district that goes from the north side of the interstate all the way through to Golden Egg out there.
Yes.
This sets the rate at 1%.
Yes.
I'd like to see it be less.
Put it wherever we wanted.
Well, we want to decide that tonight. As in, what are you suggesting?
I'd recommend 0.25%.
What kind of dollars are we talking?
as I recall, being in the discussion, he said that, I mean, lowering that much, you're just not generating the revenue that you need to make those improvements to the area, such as going over on the other side of the interstate, so.
What is it gonna generate at 1%?
At 1%, it was $40,000
$40,000 was the
$40,000
A year or a month?
a year. A year.
per year. So if you did a quarter, you're talking about 10%, or 10,000, excuse me, $10,000 generation.
If we did a half, it'd be 20.
20, that's still, I mean, we're looking at some serious going out the other side of the interstate. I mean, the infrastructure improvements that we need are extremely great. So, I mean, I definitely understand the desire not to raise the taxes. When, you know, no one necessarily likes to do that. But we are, I mean, we're competing right now with, if you will, you know, the larger cities who do raise those taxes, who has raised those taxes. We'd still be under them, but that by them raising the taxes, they are competing for these businesses. They are competing for growth, and they are growing. We're not. So I'm still recommending it. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think the 1%, just because, I mean, we're having infrastructure issues come up, we need to be able to address them. And, you know, we obviously don't want to raise property taxes anymore, and you know, things have stayed flat. So if we have issues, what do? You know, so we got to fix them. So we need to have the ability to do that. I think if we do a smaller rate, which I would prefer as well, I hate raising taxes, but if we do a smaller rate, we don't have that tool to be able to fix issues as they come up. So
this rate can be raised later on then?
It can't be raised. I mean, 1% is the max.
That's the max for the year or for
That's
forever?
the max for the business district.
Forever. It can never go up and be above 1%.
Am I correct in saying that Bombs is not in this?
Bombs is in the footprint of it.
Yes.
But they're not, are they paying tax in Farmer City, or are they doing their...
If they sell a vehicle in Farmer City, they pay taxes in Farmer City. Obviously, they sell something in Clinton, they don't.
Right. I still think half's a good place to start.
And this would be a year, this time we could, if we put it at 0.5%, a year from now we can see where we're at and raise it at that time. Is it once a year we look at this?
It's any time. It doesn't have a...
So you can do it at any given time?
I believe so, yes. Yeah, there's not a renewal. I mean, it's set up as a set time period, so within that time period, then the council has the ability to change it with an ordinance.
Keep one thing in mind, Scott, that DCDC mentioned the 20 acres. We keep talking about the 20 acres, but now we've lost our incentive tool to get anybody out there. I know DCDC has reached out to businesses to go out there, and I have done the same thing, and I am doing the same thing. So we need that. We need something, and this 1%, this 40,000 pool. When we start talking $750,000 approximate, that's a figure, but it's pretty close, to get the utilities out there, we need to have our share in the bank. So if we can put this in there and somewhat designate it towards that, then that would be a good tool. So.
You know, we're putting this next to another business district number 2, and business district 2 doesn't have any taxes, but they can pull from that. You know, I'll bring up our fish wagon. My understanding is they need another restroom, you know, even to stay in business. And I think that they were doing a little fundraiser trying to do what, $15,000, $20,000 to put a new bathroom in. Well, that's it. I mean, you know, helping out, that would be awesome to be able to help somebody out for that, but you just don't have the tools or resources to do it unless you max that out. So, any other talk or discussion? Obviously, if it gets voted down at the 1, I do believe it's voted down then because we have a deadline today. So I'm going to go ahead and say roll call.
Testori,
No.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Hahn,
Yes.
Harden,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
motion carried.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 963, ordinance establishing Pharmacy Business District 2.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
This is 0%.
This is a 0% raise.
This is the area basically downtown.
Discussion? Call it.
Hahn,
Yes.
Harden,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Testori,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
motion carried.
This moves us to section 4, other items, the city manager's report.
Just a couple things there, because some of this we've already discussed tonight, but rough drafts, versions of the budget should be available at the next meeting, which is only a week away. A lot of that has been prepared, it's gone back to the department heads, and they're reviewing them currently. The EPA has acknowledged that they've placed on file the permit for the construction permit for the interconnect between Honeysuckle and Bluebell. EPA doesn't move real fast, so you see that they're saying that there's about a 40-day turnaround time just for us to get the construction permit. Then after that, it's going to take a couple weeks to get that installed by the city guys. Farnsworth has also advised that the Route 54 water main extension should be ready for the city to review sometime by April 1st. That's preliminary, of course. Get your guys' feedback on that, and hopefully we can move forward with that. And you'll see that the Maple Street Western Avenue sewer main replacement should be ready for you to review sometime around April 22nd. Sewage Department has disposed of some 50-plus tons of sewage and it's actually solids, folks, so don't get alarmed. Out on the city-owned farmland, we rented a manure spreader, had to get a special use permit from the EPA. The EPA has said that X number of tons of solids needs to be removed from the sewage treatment plant every year. So we did inform Walsh Farms, since they entered into our farm lease for this year, that we would be doing that. So the guys went out there last week and got that put on. Every year we have to renew this permit. You see it's $3,500 a year. It's one of those things that they mandate. There was a meeting down at DCDC last week. John Whalen with the Laborers Advancing Community Enrichment Program was there. He discussed how they could assist in the financing of major projects. And when they're talking major projects, they're not talking a $50,000 or $100,000 project, they're talking $1 million projects. Something that maybe we could land out there on the other side of I-74 in our 20 acres. And one of the things that was discussed was that if we came at them with one project for the county, and it had the support of the entire county, doesn't have to be on this end of the county, it could also be down in Clinton. But if it brought in new jobs, then obviously it benefits the entire county. And there are some things that could go out here on the interstate that may be attracted this way that might fit that bill. DCDC also held their monthly meeting last week. As I put here, as was said tonight, currently they're in budget crisis, and so please consider if you want to fund them in the new year. And then we've also gone over the judicial deed issue tonight. Bringing an update on the body cams. The body cams have arrived. They're in the PD. Simplified Computers, a vendor out of Champaign-Urbana, designed a desktop for the storage of the data. The docking station hasn't arrived yet. As soon as the docking station is here, then they can get those body cameras up and running. During the FOP negotiations, Ken Beth brought over a copy of a ordinance that he helped Rantoul draft for the use of their body cameras. That was given to the chief as a model of how to come up with a new ordinance. keep in mind that the state statute has changed already this year pertaining to the use of body cams. And so currently Chief Deno is tweaking that to get it for use for Farmer City. Then he'll send it back over and let Ken Beck look at that. The FOP contract may be presented to the council at the next meeting for ratification. We've gone through that ahead of all of our meetings. The officers have agreed to what was offered to them. And the SOR program between the City of Farmer City and the Blue Ridge Schools should be presented at the next week's meeting for passage from the City Council also. That's what I have.
Are there any questions to the city manager and his report? Non-agenda items and other business?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to revisit the tree issue with the bills that you presented. And we have our attorney. Does the city have an obligation to pay those bills? They were generated by Tim. You know the history?
No, I do not.
There was a tree in question. Our guy looked at it, said that the tree was good. Tim challenged that by getting his own arborist. And then the city cut the tree down as a result. Even though it wasn't on his property, he challenged it. And then he's presented the bill to us to pay his guys that he brought in. And so I'm having trouble with this because the city didn't ask. It was your choice to challenge us. But I don't see that we should pay for the people you hired to challenge us.
Do you recall the visit that you made on your motorcycle to the site of the tree in question?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall who else was there besides the two of us?
Well, there were several people there.
The neighbors.
And
one of my workers.
Yes.
My neighbors.
Yes.
Do you recall what advice as a council member that you gave to me on that occasion?
My advice was that if you wanted to pursue it, that you should pursue it with your own guys.
That is not the verbiage you employed, Scott.
I did not offer to pay to have your guys pursue that tree.
You advised me to bring professionals in. As a member of the city council, and as a gentleman, I did not bring this up during the last meeting, but as long as we're forced to take another spoonful of the treacle of skullduggery, I'll hold your feet to the fire. Under your advisement, I made contact with the certified arborist.
I would think, sir, I'm correct that obviously there's no obligation to pay. I mean, there's no legal obligation to pay.
Well, did the city ever agree to pay?
I stated last week, unilaterally, I'll say that I believe that we should pay that. And let me give my argument for why I think that we should be obligated to pay for that. When he first came in to address the city, he asked that that we look at the tree. He thought it was a danger. At that time, we said that we would take a look at it, and we sent some people to look at it, and they looked at it, and they came back and they said there was no reason that we have to cut it down. And then we went that direction. We told him we would not cut it down. So at a later date, now of course I don't know what kind of happened here, but at a later date he came back and said, I have spoken with an arborist and I've had them come in, here's the paperwork, correct? They're saying the tree's bad. And then we decided, well, we're going to cut that tree down, correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
We cut that tree down. So although I do not think it is a good idea to set a precedence that anytime somebody comes in and say a bill, we pay that, because quite frankly that's allowing the citizens to direct the expenditure of the taxing body, and we do have a precedent for that, so I don't want to change the precedent. However, this is a case where I think that we did not do right the first time, and because he's he showed it to us that our tree was bad, I don't think that he should have to foot that bill. So that's why I made that decision. So I still think that we should pay this bill. So other councilmen have thoughts.
The tree issue in town here on what's city property and what isn't city property, I was always told that if it's on the street side of the sidewalk, it belongs to the city. But I've also been told over the years, I've had trees, and when I lived in another area, that the city is not in the tree business. Well, you can, as far as I'm concerned, you can say those words, but...
If a tree falls on somebody and they're hurt,
yeah,
or crashes, I think that we would be liable, especially if it's our property.
Can I,
yes, sir.
just so everybody is fully aware, and so I'm not going against anything that Tim has said here, or anything Mayor, you or Scott, but when Tim did come into City Hall originally about this tree, we did immediately get a hold of a tree service that we use all the time. We flipped back and forth between two different tree services. We had somebody go look at it. We did not make this determination on our own. We relied upon a tree service. They gave us that opinion. That's why we did not immediately cut that tree down. So just so people are aware of that, it's not that we ignored Tim's request.
That's not the statement that I have made. I didn't think that I was being...
No, I said not to go against anything you said, sir.
So, you guys have any thoughts?
No, I agree with you. I think that in this case, we just need to go with it and pay for it.
Mr. Kelly?
I presume this is on somebody else's property.
This is on city property.
It was in the city alley.
And it had fallen on the Kilpatrick yard 3 times. State Farm Insurance was refusing to pay on the 3rd one. No more free lunch for the municipality of Farmer City, having repaired the fence and replaced the children's recreation swing sets and trampoline.
Unless there's any objections.
No, but this is somewhere...
I think Scott's right on them. I think Mr. Chester is right on the money. We don't want to set a precedence to when we do that. I think you're absolutely right, sir.
I'm sure with the tree situation we have, this won't be the first one, or the last one.
Well, to your point, if a person tells you you need a drink of water, they're not offering to buy you water. I gave you my advice on how I would go about that. I didn't offer to pay to have your guys do that. That's not my position in this.
Scott, again, this thing is taking on another head.
Larry,
on the Hydra.
We have a purchase.
We're ready to go with it.
We're going to pay the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Any other non-agenda items? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Roll call.
Hardin,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Testori,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.